you get more and more nervous as you get closer to pulling up to the line, and it's intense. You're just sitting there waiting for your turn and staring at the guy, waiting for him to tell you that it's your turn to pull up. And I think as soon as you pull up to the light, it's gone. And after that, it's just technical. The only thing in your head is, I need to leave when the light goes green. There's no room for being nervous anymore. And then when you're done with the pass, you don't crash, you don't mess up, you don't do anything wrong. It's relief. My name is Tess Wood, and I drive a 1973 Ford Maverick. I've always been Ford. My dad always had different vehicles. He had a Chevy truck, he had a Ford truck. I liked the Ford truck. I was mostly a tomboy. My mom died when I was young, so I was mostly raised by my dad and did everything with him. I used to help my dad work on his off-road vehicles. He would put bolts in and let me tighten them, and then he'd have to go back and tighten them after me. But just hanging out with my dad and being able to do that grew into a passion as I got older. Took auto in high school, kind of developed my passion, and I went to a racetrack, Pomona. They had a high school event going on, and just fell in love with drag racing. The first time I saw a Maverick, it was Eric Aldrich's. He was racing at Streetcar Super Nationals, and he won his class. And this little old Maverick, you never see a Maverick at a track, just beat everybody. I don't know what I thought. I just started checking Craigslist for Mavericks. Most of the time you find these, they're in a desert full of weeds and have holes rusted in the floors, but I don't have $20,000 to get a rusted out fastback Mustang. But these things, they just have that, I don't know, sexy look to them, fastback look. The Maverick was actually made to compete with foreign cars. So in the 70s, you could only get fuel on certain days, and so people were looking for something a little more economical. When the Maverick first came out, it only came out with a 6-cylinder, so it was much better on gas. It still had a sporty look to it. So the people that didn't want to get a Mustang for how much gas they used would get a Maverick. When I first got the car, I was so in love with it. I drove it every day. I had another car at the time that I just stopped driving. So I decided I don't need that car anymore. I'm going to sell it. And I continued to drive this thing every single day to work. But when I sold my other car, I decided to use it to buy the supercharger that's on it now. As soon as I put the supercharger on it, I drove it down the street and completely grenaded the transmission. There goes my only car. But it was addicting. You build it, make it faster, break it, figure out how to fix it, and then make it faster again. There's big controversy over whether or not a Ford should be called stock short block or stock bottom end, but the block, the crank, the rods, the pistons, they're all stock out of like a 91 Mustang. Rumor is that they're supposed to split right down the middle after they make 500 horsepower, which this thing's been doing for more than 4 years now. I put a trick flow cam in it, trick flow twisted wedge aluminum heads on it, Victor Jr. intake. So I had to send my carburetor out because if you don't get certain things done to it, the blower will put too much pressure into it and just blow the fuel right out of it, and it won't run right. I had to have someone do all the piping to get the air into the motor. Basically what the supercharger does is it forces air into the cylinders to create more power. When that's not enough, I guess you can add a little bit of nitrous, which does basically the same thing. With 2 molecules of nitrogen with 1 molecule of oxygen, it just forces more oxygen into the cylinders to create a bigger bang and make more power in the cylinders. On a supercharged application, it does more than it would on a naturally aspirated application, because it not only adds the nitrous to the combustion chamber, but it also cools the charge of the supercharger before it goes into the motor, which creates more power. So normally you put a 50 horsepower shot on a motor, it'll add 50 horsepower. Supercharged motor probably adds about 75. Just a lot of safety equipment that you need in order to go as fast as I'm going. In order to go faster than a 10-second pass at a track, NHRA requires that you have a certified cage. So someone has to actually come out and check the car, check the cage that's inside of it, and make sure that it was built correctly so you're actually safe in there. Because the record that I'm going after is an 1/8 mile record, I've geared the car so it will use the extent of its power within the 1/8 mile. So right now, my personal best is a 589 in the 1/8 mile, which equals probably about a low 9-second pass in the 1/4 mile. So, I mean, I think you can be born with just the talent to go out there and do it, but it also takes practice. You have to have a good reaction, be good on the light. You have to be able to do 5 things at once while you're in there going as fast as you're going. I'm not even at a serious point in it. Once you start to go faster, you need a parachute. You need to know when to pull your parachute. When you're a little too out of the groove and you should let out. It's a lot of things to know that you can't be born with, but having the right reaction, I guess, is something you can be born with. I mean, there's times where I'll make a pass and I'll get to the end and I don't even remember what happened. I'll get there and I say, I don't know how I got a good light. I don't know how I shifted on time. I don't remember any of it, but it happened and I have the time slip that proves I did everything right. So most people think that making a car fast is you need a lot of horsepower and you just go out there, you need all the horsepower in the world and all the torque in the world and just go down the track and that's how you make it, but that's not the case. You need to be able to apply the power right. You need to be able to tune your vehicle to the track conditions. You need to know exactly the weight of your car, not how much the car weighs in a whole, but how much each corner of your car weighs, so you know your car is going to go down the track straight, so you know that you're not going to leave at an angle. It's hard. You need to have the correct suspension in order for your car to effectively apply the power from your motor to the wheels to leave the line as fast as possible. I've been putting everything I have into it, my heart and soul into this car for the last 7 years. I mean, it is a love-hate relationship. When I couldn't get all the work done that I needed to get done in order to go after my next attempt at the record, it was really disheartening. I don't know exactly what my end game will be with the car, and I don't want to think about that because I'll have to spend way too much money to get there. My current goal right now is to beat the stock short block record. After that, I don't know what I'm going to do. Most of the cars I buy, I usually tend to get black cars. I wouldn't say it's my favorite color, but it just looks sinister on a car. I hadn't even thought about a name yet. It was just the black car. So off the top of my head, I just said Miss Midnight Maverick. And it stuck.